Erstfeld is the start of the north ramp, or steeply graded mountain section of the Gotthard line. Some of the expresses from Lucerne to Chiasso on the Italian border stop here. The red coach is the restaurant car. Its pantograph is raised only when the train is waiting, with no loco to provide cooking power. A northbound freight arrives and departs. A Trans-Europe Express from Zurich to Milan, stopping only at Lugano. A freight backs into the yard from the north end. The usual Gotthard motive power on an unusual formation. A 6,000 horsepower AE66 on a train of Belgian Railways empty coaches. Why? Probably for a group holiday special train back home. But we shall ride on the local push-pull, or Pendelzug. Swiss railway regulations are strict. You must check that the brake blocks grip the wheels. As Erstfeld is the start of the north ramp with its steeper gradients, some freight trains are reformed in the yards on the left so that their loads are suitable for the grades and for the power available. The Gotthard line opened for through traffic in 1882. At first it was steam operated and single track between stations. The following year the second track through the 9¼ mile Gotthard tunnel came into use. Most of the remainder of the line was doubled in the 1890s. We'll alight here to see some passing trains. These TEE sets were built in 1961 to operate across national borders on 4 different electrical systems. An AE66 was rated at 650 tons on this route. The heavier trains had 2, the second often a few wagons back, so reducing the strain on the couplings. Here's the next stopping train, so let's continue the journey. We're in Canton Uri, following the River Reuss. It flows the opposite way down into Lake Lucerne. Across the valley, construction has started on the Gotthard motorway. Here at Intschi, our line crosses to the west side of the valley. I said this was a push-pull train. We are riding in the control cab at the rear, hence the fine view backwards. We shall soon be beyond the furthest point the motorway works had reached when this was filmed in 1967. An express freight, fruit and veg from Italy, maybe some small profile wagons will go via the Dunkirk train ferry to London's Continental depot at Hither Green. Avalanche protection? Above Gurtnellen, the valley rises sharply. To keep up, the railway has to turn a sideways somersault, climbing continuously in our first spiral tunnel. And looking back, we have a short glimpse of our line below the tunnel. This, the Pfaffensprung Reservoir, supplies the turbines at Amsteg, which power the trains on the north ramp. At Vasen, the prominent church makes a good reference point, as our track makes a giant S-bend to climb the valley's next step. Inside this tunnel, we turn through 180 degrees to emerge heading north. The diagram on the station's control panel is a fair representation of the twisty route, although the loops run off the edges. Let's watch an approaching southbound TEE passing below the station. Now, turn to face north, it passes through. Driving trailer coach leading, this is a northbound stopping train. Please note the extra van coupled behind the loco. Here's an express freight climbing the hill. We're watching from the roadside, a little south of Vasen station. Now nearing the station. Now on the highest part. And the Sputnik brings up the rear. It's an old coach converted to a conductor's office. Our vantage point is now high on the east side of the valley. We'll watch a short southbound freight. This one has 5 white cement wagons on the rear, quite distinctive. From here we notice that the tunnel after Vasen station has quite a toy train on the floor look at the right-hand end. Snow or avalanche protection, we suppose. A prototype for everything. Over the Mayenreus Bridge and the Sustenstraße, past the White Church. Turning another 180 degrees inside the mountain. And continue climbing. Now southwards on the top shelf. But this is no model, it's real. Tilt down to the bottom shelf and here's another, a double header with 43 wagons. The tonnage hauled over the Gotthard line is vast. In 1965 it had been 6 million tons and 5 million passengers, and it's always growing. So we'll continue on from Vasen on the next local. The local terminates at Göschenen, the station at the north end of the Gotthard tunnel. From Erstfeld to Göschenen we will have climbed 2,080 feet in about 18 miles, the steepest gradient being 2.8%, or 1 in 35.7. Here's one of those heavy freights with the second loco several wagons back, which is time-consuming to remove now the climbing's ended.